We're going to continue to keep talking about our sign numbers, absolute value, rational numbers, integers, all of those new vocabulary terms that we used today. We're going to start by looking at our learning target. I can define absolute value as it applies to a number line. Hopefully we know what that is by now, but if not, we'll hopefully get a little better at it by the time we're done. So it says plot -7 on the number line. So I'm going to find -7 on the number line, and I'm going to put a dot to call it -7. While we're here, let's go ahead and put the opposite of -7 on the number line. Hopefully you put a dot at 7. And let's classify -7. Let's give it all the names we can of the words we learned. So we learned that when you first started counting numbers, when you're a little person, we called them natural numbers. Well, does -7 fit into this category? I don't think so. We didn't start counting with negatives. Then I said if we include 0 to those natural numbers, we call them whole numbers. But again, I don't think -7 classifies as a whole number. The next type of number we learned how to count are integers. Those are all the positive and all the negative whole numbers, essentially. Does that fit in that category? Yes, it does. And then, does it also fit in the category of rational numbers? Rational numbers are everything. It's not just fractions and decimals, but it's all of the natural, all of the whole, all of the integers, and all of the rationals. So yes, it classifies as that too. All right, so it says describe the distance from -7 to 0. How would I describe? I might say it is 7 units away from 0. Makes sense, because I could count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It says plot as many other points as possible on the number line that are the same distance away from -7. Well, from here to here is 7. The only other number on here that's 7 away would be that guy, +7. And the question says, so we did that, how many numbers did you plot? Well, we only plotted the one. We only plotted one number. Why do we think this is true? Why? Because, write down what you think. We plot only one other number because it's the opposite. It's the opposite number and they are both seven units from 0. Those are the only two that will ever be 7 units from 0. One on the left-hand side, one on the right-hand side. So they have the exact same absolute value. Let's define absolute value here. You can look in your notes. You can think about what we remembered. But if we're going to look at these two, if both are 7 units away from 0, and it could be positive or negative, we can define absolute value as the distance a number is away from 0. That's one of my learning targets. I have to be able to define it, and I can show that by using a number line. Turn your page, please. Let's try these on our together. Now we have a new symbol. When we talk about absolute value, we use this funky looking symbol, these two bars next to a number. They're two big bars. They aren't ones, they're bars. So like if I had -3, those would be absolute value bars. Or if I had 5/8, those are absolute value bars. All right, so here's what it's saying. Plot the number 5 on the number line. So this time they give us a a vertical number line. So we're going to plot the number 5 on there. There's a 5 right there. It says, how far is 5 away from 0? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't even have to count that. I should know that. It's 5 units away from 0. This says the same thing as the words I just said. This says, what is the absolute value of 5? In other words, what is the distance away from 0? Absolute value of 5 is 5. And so that's how we answer it. So when we see those bars, well, that's what that means is absolute value. Let's do the next one. Plot negative 7.2 on the number line. When I go to negative 7.2, I know it's negative. I know 7.2 is going to be between 7 and 8 because it's 7.2. And then I just have to kind of guess about where that's going to be. So I'm going to put it right about there, and I'm going to call it a negative 7.2. Well, how far is that away from 0? How many steps does it take to get there? Well, it takes 7.2 steps to get there. In other words, if I use my absolute value bars, how far is negative 7.2 away from 0? It is 7.2. And that's how we determine what absolute value is. Let's try number 4. Explain what each statement means. Name other values that have the same absolute value, if possible. So, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? And what does this mean? Go ahead and pause the video and write your answer right over here. What does it mean? All right, hopefully you wrote down that by seeing those bars, those problems indicate the distance from 0. That's what they mean. That's what it means when you see those bars. It means how far away is this from 0? Well, how far away is negative 5 from 0? It's 5. How far is 1 and 5/6 away from 0? It's 1 and 5/6. How far away is 0.75 from 0? It's 0.75. How far away is a negative 1.36 from 0? A 1.36. The distance away from 0. Notice they're all positive because distance is always positive. Let's see what else they wanted us to do. Name other values that have the same absolute value. So what other number besides the negative 5 would have the same absolute value? Well, I would think the absolute value of 5 would have the same absolute value, and it does, because it's its opposite. It's on either side of 0. If 1 and 5/6, the absolute value is 1 and 5/6, I think the absolute value of a negative 1 and 5/6 would also have the same absolute value. Try the last two on your own. The absolute value of what other number would equal this absolute value? All right, so hopefully you put in the blanks that a negative 0.75 would have the same absolute value, and hopefully on D you put a 1.36 or a positive 1.36 would have the same absolute value. It says use your investigation and a number line to answer each question. Can two different numbers have the same absolute value? Can two different numbers have the exact same absolute value? Go ahead and pause that, and then you're answering 5 and you're going to answer 6. What can you say about the absolute value of any positive number, of any negative number, and of 0? Go ahead and pause it now and do those, then hit play when you're ready. Okay, Hopefully you paused it and have something written here. Can two different numbers have the same absolute value? Why, yes, they can. All opposites will have the same absolute value. It says provide examples. So 5 and -5, 7 and -7, 1/2 and -1/2. All of those are examples of numbers that will have the same distance from 0, the same absolute value. What can you say about the absolute value of a positive number? What do you always know is going to be true of the absolute value of a positive number? Well, it's going to be the same number. So if it's an absolute value of 6, it's going to be 6. If it's the absolute value of 9, it's going to be 9. If it's positive, the absolute value is going to be the exact same. On the other hand, what do you know about the absolute value of a negative number? Well, if it's a negative 6 or a -9, I know the absolute value is always going to be its, hopefully you got it, opposite. It's always going to be its opposite, or positive number. And what do you always know about the absolute value of 0? Well, it's 0, because 0 doesn't have to travel. It is the place that people want to get to. So 0 is itself, and it doesn't have an opposite. All right, turn the page. Last one. Less than, greater than. Talk the talk. It says, how do you know? You absolutely must compare these. All right, so it says insert a greater than, a less than, or an equal symbol, and I put them up here for you, to make each statement true. Justify each answer in terms of the definition of absolute value and number lines. Well, what's the definition again? The distance from 0. So I got to figure out what is the absolute value of each of these, and then I have to compare them on a number line. So the absolute value of a -4.67 would be, whoops, the absolute value of a -4.67 would be 4.67. And the absolute value of 3, how far is 3 away from 0? It's 3 away from 0. And if I plot these on a number line, 1, 2, 3, 4, here's 3, here's 4.67. I can clearly see that 4.67 is greater than 3. All right, I don't have to make a number line every single time, but I could do that to help me if I need to. Let's do one more together, and then you can go on your own. What do you know about the absolute value of a -15? The distance from -15 to 0 would be 15. What about the absolute value of 15? Well, it's 15 away from 0, so 15 equals 15. All right, at this time, go ahead and pause and do the last 4 on your own, and you're trying to put in the correct symbol, less than, greater than, or equal to, but make sure you first figure out what the absolute value of each one is. All right, hopefully you paused it and you tried them on your own, and now you're checking to see how you did. So let's see, the absolute value of 25 and 9/10, how far away is it from 0? It is 25 and 9/10 away from 0. Absolute value of a -33 and 2/3, how far away is it? It's 33 and 2/3 away from 0. And when I compare those on a number line, I know 25 is going to come before 33, so I know 25 is less than. Hopefully you didn't get fooled by this negative sign, because remember, absolute value is always positive. Let's try the next one. How far away is 13.5 away from 0? What is its absolute value? It's that. What is the distance that -27 is away from 0? What is its absolute value? It's 27. And now when you see their absolute values and you plot them on a number line, you know 13 is going to come before 27. So the first one is 13.45 is less than 27. Number 5. The absolute value of a negative 15.34. How far away is it? Oops. Mrs. Holiday, we don't want a negative sign. How far is it away? It is 15.34 units away. How far is 1 and 11/12 away from 0? It is 1 and 11/12 away from 0. And now if I plot these on a number line, that looks like a T, I'm not sure why, but I know that 1 is going to be here and 15 is going to be there. So I know that 15 is greater than 1 and 11/12. And the last one, the absolute value of negative 19.5. How far away is 19.5? It is 19.5 units away from 0. How far is 5.5 away from 0? What is its absolute value? It is 5.5. And if I plot them on a number line, I know the 5's going to come first, the 19's going to come second, so I know 19 is greater than a 5.5. Awesome. Once you have this whole packet filled out and you have your video done, you may come and tell Mrs. Holiday, and she will give you your skills sheet that you can work on for your homework for tomorrow. Thanks for